Shalom lekulam, and welcome to this fourth lesson on the book of Zohar. This lesson is going to be on the same subject of how the parsufim, how the parsufim actually work or how they develop. What the book of Zohar is trying to tell us here in the beginning, in this introduction that it has, is what is basically the map or the system that we're living in, the spiritual system that we're living in, and how that system actually works. Okay, and with this introduction that is given to us in the book of Zohar, in this prologue, what we see is that with these different names of these sections, like for example, we studied the rose or the lily. Then after that, we studied the flower buds. The lily was basically to identify what is going to be the main character, if you will, of the book of Zohar, or the main characters, and it's the congregation of Israel and the Creator. It's going to be about the vessel and the light of the Creator. It's going to be about the relationship between these two forces, that is the creature and the Creator. And the flower buds is basically telling us how this relationship is actually taking place, through which system is taking place and things like that. And now we're going to be studying a section in the book of Zohar that is called Who Created This? Mi bara EleH in Hebrew. And in this section, what we're going to do is we're going to go deeper into the different actions and ways that the light actually works inside the vessel, or when in reality, we say that the light is not, the light never changed. The light is basically the same. But in reality, what we're trying to say when we say that when the light works that way inside the vessel is that the vessel actually is the one that is changing. The light stays the same. So it's basically how when the light goes in to these different vessels, these different sections of the creature, how the creature actually made these calculations in order to start using that light, not for the sake of just receiving, but for the sake of receiving in order to please the Creator, for the sake of giving back to the Creator. Okay, so in order to study the Zohar the proper way, we're gonna do like we have done in previous lessons. We're gonna do meditation in order to connect ourselves with the right intention. So what we're gonna see now, it's basically a whole bunch of letters for some people, for a whole bunch of Hebrew letters. All you have to do is scan it from your right to your left, and don't try to make any sense of it. Just know that these are names of God in there that have been basically what they call that they've been impregnated. They have been filled, and but don't try to make sense of these names of God as they are filling each other. Just scan it, and as you scan it, try to build the proper intention for the study of the book of Zohar, which is basically attaining the life of the Creator, not for our sake, but for the sake of all humanity. So when we study the book of Zohar, we need to keep in mind that we're studying it not for the sake of knowledge. Knowledge is a given. We will have that. We will know things. But the real goal of the study of the Zohar is for us to connect with other souls in our existence, in our spiritual existence and physical existence. Okay, so when we study the Zohar, let's start not only gaining knowledge, but also never losing the intention of connecting to others. And these include people from all races, all sexual orientations, all nations, and all that. Doesn't necessarily has to be person that study Kabbalah or Judaism. I know there was a question about that when we connected. We're thinking only about people that study Kabbalah. Yes, but at the same time, no. We're thinking about other people as well. And it's basically the whole creation. God, when he creates things, or when he created things, he doesn't create, let's put it this way, garbage. Nothing goes to waste, okay? So don't think that this is only for certain people. Only certain people are going to benefit from you studying the Zohar. And it's everybody is going to benefit from you studying the Zohar and learning it the proper way, having the proper intention, okay? So let's do that now. Let's concentrate. I'm going to give you a few seconds to concentrate and scan these letters, and then we will continue. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go over some of the things that we have learned so far. We have to make sure, that we keep our intention as we review the things we have learned so far. But in the meantime, let me go back to the letters and read a prayer from the EleH before the study of the Zohar, so we don't lose, so we connect and do the right connection to the Zohar. Okay? So as I read this word, concentrate and make sure that you connect, that you imagine connecting to all the souls of this planet, to all these parts, little pieces of that puzzle that is called Adam Harishon, the first Adam, the Adam that God created in the Garden of Eden. And have the intention that you're doing this study in order to connect these parts so we can all be one being, one soul, and in that way we can basically be at the image of the Creator once again. Okay? A prayer from the EleH to be recited before the study of the Zohar. Ruler of the universe and master of all masters, the Father of mercy and forgiveness, we thank you, our God and the God of our forefathers, by bowing down and kneeling, that you brought us closer to your Torah and your holy work, and you enable us to take part in the secrets of your holy Torah. How worthy are we that you grant us with such big favor, which is the reason we plead before you that you will forgive and acquit all our sins, and that they should not bring separation between you and us. And may be your will before you, our God and the God of our forefathers, that you will awaken and prepare our hearts to love and revere you. And may you listen to our utterances and open our closed hearts to the hidden studies of your Torah. And may our study be pleasant before you, before your place of honor, as the aroma of the sweet incense. And may you emanate to us light from the source of our soul to all of our being. And may the sparks of your holy servants, through which you reveal your wisdom to the world, shine. May their merit and the merit of their fathers and the merit of their Torah and holiness support us, so we shall not stumble through our study. And by their merit enlighten our eyes in our learning, as it is stated by King David, the sweet singer of Israel. Open your eyes so that I will see wonders from your Torah. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. May the utterances of my mouth and the thoughts of my heart find favor before you, God, my strength and my Redeemer. So as we are doing this connection, we're strengthening our Kabbalah to study the Zohar. In this prayer that we just recited, there's some parts that are very important because they're connecting us already to the study that we're going to have today. And it's that when it says King David, the sweet singer of Israel, that's from Psalm 119, verse 18, open my eyes so that I will see wonders from your Torah. Keep that in mind because we're going to talk about that. What it is, about opening the eyes and what is that wonder from the Torah. Then he mentions, from Proverbs 2, verse 6, therefore the Lord gives wisdom. Okay, remember about Chokmah. From his mouth comes knowledge and understanding. Remember pay, okay? So just to give you a little hint of what we're talking here is that about this here, okay? It's something called pay, which is mouth, which we saw before. Let me see if I can find it. This is the parsufim. Let me get to the board. This is the parsufim, right? Or we call Keter Chokmah, Bina or Avi, in here, and Serampia Mahud, which is zone. And in here you're gonna find Galgalta, a 9, which is eyes, and pupil, ear, nose, and mouth. And when we see these things in the Torah, where it talks about eyes, mouth, and things like that, it talks about human anatomy. Let's put it that way. But in reality, it's talking about these forces that we see here. When it says the head, the crown, and things like that, it's talking about Keter, right? The 9, the eyes, is the Chokmah, the light of Chokmah. And then Nikveh 9, the pupils, is basically the 3 first sefirot of Bina. And then the ears, or Ozen, is the 7 lower sefirot of Bina. And we're going to talk about that in this lesson. And then when it says nose, which is Chotem, is Zerampin, and the mouth, Pei, is Mahut, or Nukba. And one thing that you need to keep in mind is that Galgalta and 9, this is Galgalta and the eyes, basically, that includes the pupil, it's vessels of bestowal, and everything below, like the 7 lower sefirot of Bina, and Serampin and Mahud, those are considered vessels of reception, and you're gonna see them as Galgalta 9 or GE, or Osen Chotem Pe, which is Ahab. And when you read books of Kabbalah, usually you're gonna see the acronym, GE, AHP, and so keep that in mind. Then there's something called Yeshut, and Yeshut is gonna be mentioned here. We're gonna explain what Yeshut is all about. And basically, Yeshut has to do with the raising of man of Serampin and Mahut towards Avi or Abba Ve'ima, and how Yeshut, which I have a student asking, you mentioned Yeshut. What is Yeshut? Yeshut actually means Yisrael Saba, okay, and then the U, even though it says it's a U, it's actually Ve, which is Ava, Tevunah. So Yisrael Saba V'Tevunah. So the Yesh comes from Ish, Israel and Saba. The U comes from the Vav, that is before Tevunah, and the Te is Tevunah, Yisrael Saba V'Tevunah, which means Israel, the elder, or Israel, the grandfather, and his counterpart, female counterpart, okay? And that's what Yeshut is all about. And that is going to be basically when Nukba and Serampin raise man, basically raise themselves to ask for the light of the Creator to Abba Ve'ima. Abba Ve'ima then look at each other face to face in order to give the light of Chokmah to the lower ones, which is Serampin and Nukba. And when that happens, that union is known as knowledge, Daat. Okay? So we're going to talk about the sefirah or pseudo sefirah Daat as well, okay? So keep that in mind. Another thing that we need to keep in mind is the following. You are going to see, and we're going to mention as well about the light. What is the light that needs to be filling the worlds? And there's a concept very important, and those of you who probably has taken the intermediate Kabbalah lesson in receiving theupperlight.com, and or have seen them here in YouTube. It's basically a concept of that the light comes down to the vessel in an inverse way. So what you're gonna see is that the light of Atzilut, if we put it together like that, the light of Atzilut is Chaya, the light of Bria is Neshama, the light of Yetzirah is Ruach, and the light of Asiyah is Nefesh. However, when we are feeling the words, right, the first light that is going to come is the simplest light, which is going to be Nefesh. Then as the vessel continues working, that light continues basically filling the vessel to the point that then the next light is going to be the light of Ruach. Then it's going to continue filling the light until we get Neshama in Atzilut, Ruach in Bria, and Nefesh in Yetzirah. Then when we fully have the whole vessel filled with light, that's when everything falls into place. That means that Chaya is in its proper place, which is Atzilut, Neshama is in its proper place, which is Bria, and Ruach is in its proper place, which is Yetzirah, and the Nefesh in Asiyah. And that's when the whole system is actually balanced and full of light. Okay, so keep that in mind, because we're gonna mention that as well in this lesson. And as I started this lesson and recording, I think this lesson is gonna be who created this is gonna be probably two videos, because a lot to cover. There's a lot of things that we need to talk about, a lot of concepts that are important. Then after that we have who created this by Eliyahu, and in there these concepts then are expanded in more detail. So it's very important to keep these concepts in mind. Okay. All right. So let's start reading the book of the Zohar, and so we can understand what is this all about. Okay. So who created this? Mi vara EleH. Okay. And it always gonna start some of these it's gonna start mentioning some names of some rabbis, and I'm not gonna go into detail about that, but just understand that these rabbis were part of a circle of students that were close to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and each student represented a sefirah of the book of life, of the tree of life. And in the book of Zohar, what we're gonna see is that they mention these names. These names have certain secrets in them, gematria secrets, and we're not gonna touch base on those now, but just understand that when he said, in this moment, in this place, it mentions, Bereshit Rabbi Eliezer Patach, he opens up, he opened it. Why he opened it, There's something about opening. Opening means, like giving, giving something, giving some kind of light. So, and then when he says, that a rabbi was sitting down or a rabbi was standing up, sitting down means katnut, smallness. Standing up means gadlut, which is greatness. So all these words that you're going to see in the book of Zohar have a meaning, have some kind of symbolism that as Kabbalists we need to understand that nothing is there just for the heck of it. It's there for a reason. It was written there for a reason. So this is why they were walking the way. This is why they were looking at something, eyes, right? This is why they were probably smelling something, or they were feeling something, or they saw a vision and things like that. All that is talking about different levels of spirituality, or different levels in the system that we're just starting to know through the book of Zohar. Okay, so let's start reading, and then we will explain this part. So for those of you who have the regular Zohar, this is Zohar Volume 1, page 1b. Those of you who have the Zohar with Sulam commentary, this is the prologue, item 7. In the Zohar from the Kabbalah Center, which is basically based on the Sulam commentary, that's a volume number 1, item 7. It's called Who Created This? And let's start. In the beginning, Rabbi Elazar opened. Lift up your eyes on high and behold who has created these things. Lift up your eyes to what place? To the place where all eyes are turned. And who is he that has created these things? He's one who opens those eyes, Adik Anpin, which is Malchut. And you will know this. It is the concealed Atika Kadisha, which is Keter, wherein lies the question, who has created this? And who is he? Who, me, Mem, Yod. He is called from the ends of divine heaven on high as in that which is Binah, since Binah is above Malchut, where everything belongs to him, as everything is in his domain. And since one can ask about him, though he is concealed and not revealed, he is called who? Me. Because beyond him, one may not pose such questions. Thus, the end of heaven is called who. So, let's talk about this item number 7. And what we're gonna be using is the commentaries from the Bar Hasulam. These are basically modern commentaries that are written in a way that it resounds and it's more adequate, for our times, and it's easier to understand than explaining the Zohar, which has a cryptic language already, with more cryptic language, right? So we're gonna try to use a book of Zohar based on the Sulam commentary, and we will explain also, as much as possible in a simple way. So in Hebrew, the word me means the question who. So when you say, who is he? You say me who, or who is she? Me he, right? Me means who. And also, if you are from a country, let's say you are from Israel, and somebody asks you where you from, you answer me Israel, from Israel. So me means who, but also means from, okay? And these are here, if you want to know which letters are, it's the Mem and the Yod. That's me. It's also here. Already highlighted the whole thing, but it's here, the Mem and the Yod. That's basically, the two letters, Mem and Yod, which together, when you look at the Mem is 40, the Yod is 10. 40 plus 10 is 50. And Bina is known as the 50th gate, right? The 50th gate of understanding. So keep that in mind, because when we talk about the 50th gate and the holidays and that kind of stuff, the 50th gate is Bina, okay? So some numerology or gematria there as well. So this letter me, or the letter Yod and Mem, are part of the name Elohim. Okay, so here you have the name Elohim, and if you divide the name Elohim, see if I can make it into two, what you're gonna have is the following: EleH and Im. All right. So when you put the Mem before the Yod, it's the word me, which means who. Okay, and Rabbi Eliezer says here, he's trying to explain basically who has created these, and these, when you look, at the question, me bara EleH, here that is bigger, in the top part. Me bara EleH, EleH, and me. Where's EleH? EleH is also part of Elohim. So this is EleH, and this is im. So mi and EleH, they're part of the name Elohim, okay? They're part of the name Elohim. And what he's trying to explain is, with this name Elohim, what really happened here. And the first thing we need to understand that he's talking about the creation, right? We've been talking about creation since we started with the lily and the flower buds, right? So the heaven and earth are basically the 7 days of creation, which is sun. And sun is basically Serampin and Malchut. Serampin here, and Malchut, which is Nuba. And but these are Serampin and Malchut of Atzilut. So now I'm gonna introduce you to a different graph, because now what we're gonna see is a creator. We have Olam Adam Katmon, right? This is the world of Adam Katmon, and which is the world of Atzilut. We're gonna have here the Arin Amping, Ava Veima, which is Chokma and Bina. Then you have in here Yeshut. Yeshut is the 7 lower sefirot of Bina. Right, so you have the 3 sefirot of Bina above what is called the Chaseh, and then Yeshut, which is Yisrael Saba V'Tevunah, the 9 lower sefirot of Bina, all the way down to something that is called the Tabur, which we're gonna explain later. But then we're gonna have Serampin and Malchut, which is the zone that we're talking here, and it's from the Atzilut. Okay, this is the word of Atzilut, and then down here what we're gonna see is the words of Biyah, which is the word of Bria, Yetzirah, Asya, and then this word which is the Olam Haseh. Okay, so he says the heaven and earth constitute 7 days of creation, which is Zon, and in the word of Atzilut. And if it is part of Atzilut, then why it's mentioned in here the word Bara, Mi Bara EleH, and which is related to the word of Bria, and it doesn't say Atzil, which is emanate, right? Emanated from Atzilut. And this is precisely where the opportunity lies to open our eyes to the process of creation, because the Rosh of Arin Camping, which is over here, Arin Camping, has only Keter and Chokmah. Okay, has only Keter and Chokmah in it. It's called the opening of the eyes. This part is called the opening of the eyes. So when we look at, he said, lift up your eyes on high and behold who had created this. Keep that in mind. Okay. Also the intention that we read, about the eyes. And after all, only when she opens up does the light of Chokmah pass through her, from Rosh of Arin Camping to all the parts of being of the world of Atzilut. And who is she? She is Bina. Okay, so Bina. And he says the eyes should be raised up to the place on which all eyes basically depend. It should be raised to the place. Lift up your eye and behold who has created this. This is to the place where all eyes are turned, right? And it's because the light of Chokmah can feel all the parts of him, and of the word Atzilut only when Malchut opens up in Rosh of Arin Camping. And the light of Chokmah, or the light of wisdom, is the light of the eyes, the light of, let me see if I can get this from here and put it here so I don't be changing a lot. So what we need to understand is, let me put it here for now, that when he says eyes, he's talking about Chokmah, okay? But also he's talking about Malchut. Malchut needs to basically do something in order to get to that level of opening of the eyes. The word bara signifies signifies bar, or beyond, which is beyond or farther, or somewhere farther from where Malchut is, meaning outside the world of Atzilut. This is because Bina herself came out of the Rosh of Arin Camping and then stood a little bit lower. outside the Rosh of Harin camping, giving birth to that is precisely by that creation of the sun. So what we need to know is that Bina was part, Keter Chokmah Bina was part of Harin camping. So here, all this white thing in here is basically Harin camping in the word of Atzilud. And Ava Ve'ima are at the Rosh of Harin camping, but Ima came down a little bit. And then we're gonna see that even though Bina went down a little bit and she has 9 lower sefirot that are below, or actually 7 sefirot that are low, which is Serampin and Nukba, this is actually part of a process that is happening over there high in the head in order to be able to give to the lower ones, to the son and the daughter, which is Serampin and Malchut, okay? So what we're gonna see is the following. The birth of Zerampin and Nukba happens only when Bina exits and descends from her degree. So the birth of a son is called Bara, from the word bar of outside. So they're born outside. Outside what? Outside the Rosh, right? And they basically, in something that is called like the goof, but you're gonna see, like here we have a chest, which is the chaseh, the tabu, which is the navel, and the reglaim, which is like the legs, or the parsuf in camping. Bina was basically, even though it's considered to be outside, it's not completely outside. So we're gonna see why. The entire creation is basically 10 sefirot, and every sefirah includes all the others. So every sefirah has 10 degrees, so 10 sefirot. So we have every sefirah consists of Keter, Chokmah, Bina, and Serampin, Malchut, meaning every sefirah will have these 5 parsufim. And when you really look at it, you have 5 parsufim times 5 parsufim times 5 parsufim is 125 sefirot, or steps of the ladder that separate us from the lowest to the highest of the Creator. So when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Each of these has also 5 in it. So 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5. So what you're gonna have is 125 steps. Okay. So now we're gonna explain what I was mentioning before about Bina. Bina itself doesn't receive the life of Chokmah. It doesn't really need it. If you look at the lessons that we have when we have the vessel, when the vessel start receiving, Keter is basically the direct light. Chokmah receives the light, the vessel that receives the light. But Bina doesn't want to receive the light, wants to give the light back to the Creator. It rejects the light, doesn't need the light, because it wants to be like the Creator, wants to emulate that force of bestowal, right? But in order to pass this light of Chokmah to Zerampin and Malchut, it will receive the light only if it is for the Creator's sake. And receiving this light of Chokmah is the goal of all creation, okay? Then Bina, what it does is it allocates itself or divides itself into something that is called Zat Devina, which is the Zain Tachtonim, which is Yeshut, which is the 7 lower ones of Bina are here, and then the 3 upper ones of Bina are here where it says Abi, okay? So we're gonna have Gar Devina, which is Gar Devina is the Gimel Rishonim, the 3 first one, and Sat Devina, which is the 7 lower ones, okay? And in this way, Bina then gets out of the head or Rosh and falls into the goof, okay? So this is a Rosh, and then down here where we see is the chest, the navel, and the legs are gland. So now we have Bina around that area of all the way to the from the chest down to the tabu. And so it's Baruch has to explain here that the part that is called Avi is spanned from the Pe or mouth down to the Chase, chest of our encamping, which is here, from the Pe to the chest. That's also called Chase, which is the chest, also called the Parsa, the Atzilut. And Parsa are basically like divisions, divisions, and somehow these divisions are some kind of curtains or occultations of the light. Okay, so look at them, not as divisions but filters, if you will, filters. And Sad Bina, which wants to receive Chokmah in order to give to son, just as a mother wants to give, to the children. This part actually feels the lack of the light of Chokmah, because outside of the rush of our encamping is in the group, and it cannot receive this light, but the only lights that it receives is the light of Ruach and Nefesh, which is called, the backlight. Let me make this more. So if we were here, what's happening is that this light in these 9 lower ones, what is happening is the following. Let me make this small. They're just receiving the light of Nefesh and Ruach in the area. Okay, so that's what's happening right now. They can only receive that. And if you look Ruach Nefesh, when you put it in the name Yohed and the Vav He is basically Zerampin and Nukva. So Yeshut is exactly that, Zerampin and Nukva of Bina. And then we're gonna see, why this is important to know, that the Vav and the He of it's working here somehow as well, in the name of God. And the son of the word of Atzilut, which received from Yeshut, so in order for the light of Chokmah to go to Bina, needs to go through Yeshut, and then Yeshut is going to be the conduit through which the light is going to reach Zerampi and Marhut of Atzilut, which we talk about that in all previous lessons. And what's happening is that Yeshut is, or Yeshut, span from the Tabur to the end of the feet of our encamping. So Yeshut is here, right? And it ends all the way to the end of the feet of our encamping, which is Reglaim. And there are 2 parsot, or plural for parsa, as in the word of Atzilut, separating the sefirot of Bistol, which is Kargartainaim, right? And those of reception, which is Ahab. So we're going to have Gar Devina here and Sad Devina here. And this line that you see right here in this line is this parsa of Atzilut, okay? That divides the vessels of bestowal that you have here from the vessels of reception that are down here, that is Yeshut. And Yeshut has a lack of the light that is here. Bina doesn't need it, but in order for Bina to give it for the sake of the creator, meaning for the sake of giving to Sarampina and Nukba down here, it needs to lower itself to this point, and then these vessels are gonna feel the need to receive this light, and then we're gonna see how this is gonna work out. Then he said that this parcel is located in the chest of our encamping, so it's located at the Chaseh. Okay, Chaseh means chest. Then there's another parsa that is located in Atzilut and Bia, and basically this parsa here divides Atzilut from Bia, and this is where it gets kind of confusing. So this parsa divides these vessels here from the ones down here. This is vessels of bestowal, these are vessels of reception. However, when we compare the whole system, this whole system here, okay, this appear, which is the word of Atzilut, and this down here, which is the word of Bia, is also divisions of vessels of bestowal and vessels of reception. Okay, So keep that in mind. This is something that confuses a lot of people. So, but you said that in Atzilut we have here vessels that are vessels of reception. Now you're saying, that when it gets divided by the parcel of Aviyah, that now they're vessels of bestowal. They're vessels of reception, all right? But this reception is a reception for the sake of Creator. Down here are vessels of really more egoistic desires, okay? So this is something that we need to understand. Right now we're working with the vessels of bestowal, and these vessels of bestowal eventually are gonna bring the light down here, and this is where the whole system then all the way to the Olam Hazeh or world is going to receive that light, even though there's gonna be some breakings and things like that, as we're gonna see later. Okay. And also Bar Hasulam wants to tell us that every parsuf, as you can see here, it's a division here, Pe, the parsa, Yeshut has also a parsa here. So every parsuf in every world in here has a parsa. Basically everything has some kind of filter that will separate the desire of bestowal from the desires of reception and in the whole system. Okay. So there's something now that he wants to explain to us, and it's called the place where the eyes are turned. And who is he that has created this thing? He is the one who opens those eyes. Opening those eyes means that opens the doors of the light of wisdom, the light of Chokmah, right? Adding camping, which is Malchut, and you are adding camping, which is Malchut. Before all this happened, okay, before all this happened, we have something that is called the development of this parsufim, right? So you have Gagalta, Ab, Sak, Ma, and Bon. So what you have here, Bon is basically the word, actually Ma is a word of Absolute, and Bon then is gonna be where all these things are gonna be happening. Okay, so in Sag, the breaking happened, and when the creation of Sag, or between the creation of Sag and the creation of Ma, the breaking of the vessels happened. Then the new word is created, and this word is a word of correction, Asilut. And it's here that this whole thing is happening. Now it's telling us, about how this process is taking place and how these systems in creations are working out. And there's a parsuf that is mentioned, is Atik, or Atik Kadisha. And Atik is not mentioned because Atik is basically at this moment kind of like concealed within the Arin camping. Okay, and that's something that we need to keep also in mind, because this is out here. All this is happening basically in Atik. Okay, and I have Atik here at Sinsum Bet. Atik is Sinsum EleH. After the breaking of vessel, it's basically a complete parsuf. But then after Zinsum Bet, it basically shrinks itself in order to create the word of Atzilut, and in there it creates then the 5 parsufim, which is Arin Camping, Abi, Seramping, and Mahut, which are corresponding to these 5 parsufims that we have here, which is Gargata, Ab, Sag, Ma, and Bon. Okay, and if you want to learn more about these things, just go to www.receivingtheupperlight.com, and there you can see the intermediate lessons in which these things are explained. In that way, it will be easier for you to understand what we're talking about here if you don't understand it yet. Okay, so that's what's happening here. Okay, so the system of the question, there's a question, right? There's a question that is asked, and the Zohar basically says, that the question is basically a desire for the light of Chokmah that is felt by Zon, basically Serampin and Nukba. And because of this, they raise man, which is my Nukhbing. And man is basically a prayer, kind of like a request of the lower forces, the lower desires, to receive the light of Chokmah from the upper ones, for the Creator's sake. Okay, not egoistically, but for the Creator's sake. And what the Zohar is telling us is that the question only exists in what we call Yeshut, meaning that they receive this prayer, this request from the ones below, which is Serampin and Malchut, okay? And then Yeshut received that. Yeshut are the one that received that. And Baruch HaSulam says the following, and before that it is said of Yeshut, bara, from the word bria or bar, something that exists outside of its degree, right? What did it do? Bara created EleH, which is EleH. It created Ahab. It created these lower forces down there. How it created them as a headless of as headless as itself. For the word bara beyond indicates a lack of rosh or kelim from the word of Atzilut. So if you really look, this Yeshut, which is Sat V'Tevunah, the 7 lower ones of Bina, which is the half vessels, you know, were created, but Zat doesn't have a head. The 3 upper sefirot, Gag the Bina, they're part of the vessels of this total. So the head is above Yeshut, right? So Yeshut has no head. It considers to have no head. So it creates the rest with the same kind of pattern, if you want to call it that way, without head. Now, Sat Bina waits for an answer to this question, you know, that is received, this request for the life of Chokmah, and it is called basically me. So Sat Bina is me, and the rest are called EleH, okay? Make sure you know that it is said bara in regards to them because they exited and descended independently from the level of the rush of our encamping to below its chased, to be below its chest. These are Sat Devina, the 7 lower ones of Bina, called Yeshut, or Mi, Mem Yod, and they are called the highest edge of heaven. For heaven refers to Zerampin, who receives from Yeshut, and Malchut is called earth. Sat Devina, which is Yeshut, right? Which is Yeshut, is called firmament. Zerampin is called heaven, and Malchut is called earth. All right. Everything that exists below Yeshut, meaning Zon and the words of Biyah, everything that exists down here, receive from Yeshut. Okay. Yeshut revives the whole creation. Whatever it has, they will receive it too. Whoever is below Yeshut will receive whatever Yeshut attains, right? However, the request, the prayer, this mind of being, this ascension of the feminine waters, this question, you know, that is raised, the man determines whether or not Yeshut will have something to bestow upon them. So depending on the intention, depending on the kind of prayer and how the strong is this prayer, is the response that the lower ones are going to receive. And this is the part, you know, when Kabbalah becomes practical. In our lives, we are part of this system. We're a small parsuf. And what we're doing is constantly, what we need to do is be in this kind of request and asking the Creator to give us the light. Thus the name of this group, you know, receiving the upper light. Receiving the upper light means, you know, asking that question, asking for that request so the Creator can give us an answer by giving us the light of Chokmah. And this is the system that we are also participants of. We are basically the Malchut in this system, and we need to unify ourselves with the Serampin, which are vessels of bestowal in our being, and in this way raise our whole being towards connection with the Creator. In that way, we will connect with this force that is called Yeshut, and raising our prayers to that level, and in that way receive a response, which is raising the feminine waters and the language of Kabbalah, and then the answer is, the Creator sending the masculine waters, the unification between the male and the female, which we're gonna see later, which means also, face to face, which is when the life of Chokmah is transferred to Bina, from Bina to Yeshut, or from Yeshut to the lower ones, which is Zon, or in this case, individually us when we do these things, or as a group, or we should be in a group. The whole work, it's basically us who are Nukhba or Marhut, okay? So there lies no question, when it says, where there's a place that there lies no question, right? And who is he? Who? Me. He called the ends of the divine heaven on high, which is Venus, since Venus of Omahu, where everything belongs to him and everything his domain, since one can ask about him, though he is concealed and not revealed. He is called Who, because beyond him one may not pose some question. There is no question, right? Thus the end of heaven is called Who. The end of heaven, remember, Serampin is heaven. The end of heaven is basically Yeshut, okay? And it's called Me. It's called Me. And then what we're gonna have is the following. There lies no question. Where? In Gardevina. There's a question here in Yeshut, right? The question is Sat Devina, but there's no question over here. The question is here. What is here is actually gonna be the process of answering that question. Okay? In Gardevina, which is Abi, they do not receive man for the reception of Chokmah. Man is my new thing, the request, because they never feel any lack of Chokmah, So they don't receive anything for themselves or even for others yet. Only Sat Devina or Yeshut are the ones that assist with that question, or are basically the ones that receive that prayer or that request from the lower ones. And then Yeshut raises that question, that request for man, mind of being, to be to the basically raises man to that is received from Zon to the Rosh of our encamping. Rosh of our encamping receives the life from Chokmah from there. So Yeshut is called the highest edge of heaven, for Zerampin is called heaven, and receives from it. So when there's a lacking here in Zerampin Marhut, a request is made to Yeshut, and Yeshut then, even though there's no question here, Yeshut has the question and raises that question to the Rosh of our encamping over here, okay? And we're almost being an hour. Like I said, this might take as I see, it might take a little bit more than a little more than 2 lessons. So let's just recap, to finish this lesson on item number 7 of the section Who Created This, okay? So we can understand it, and then we will continue with another lesson, finishing item number 8. But let's read item number 8, okay? But there's another one below called Ma. What is in common between this one and the other one? The first one is concealed and it's called Me. There exists a question in it for man to inquire and research in order to see and know all the degrees, down to the end of all degrees, which is Mahut. This is Ma. What does Ma means? Ma means what? Do you know? What do you know? What do you see? What do you research? After all, everything is initially concealed. Remember we talked about the concealments, right? This parsa, these different lines that divide the parsufin and all that. So what we need to understand is this. What we have is the following. We have after breaking of the vessel, a world of correction called Atzilut. Atzilut in it has 5 parsufim, just like the 5 parsufim after the first restriction happened. Okay. Then after the second restriction, which is the breaking of the vessels, we have Atik in or Tik Kadisha in Tzitzum Bet, which is second restriction, right? And from there, these parsufins are born: Arin Camping, Ava Veima, Zeramping, and Mahut. Okay. Then there's places down here below the what we call, and to make sure that you know, it's called Parsa. Below the Parsa, there's something called a place for Bria, the place for Yesirah, the place of Asiya, and then down here, you know, it's a whole world. But also, this area has no light, so whatever falls below that, let's say, limit out of that parsa, so everything that falls below here still have no light at this moment. So that's why it's called, you know, Mador Klipot, the place of the klipot, the place of the shells, because any light that falls there is going to be basically concealed or used by the evil forces, or forces, you know, that are not pure, to continue living from it. And that's what's going to happen. Like we see here, we talk about, you know, the erasing of the worlds in other lessons of the Zohar, and how a soul was born in between, which is Adam Harishon, when this happened. But right now we're talking about this section over here on Olam Atzilut, and how that section actually works, what's happening over here. So Arin Camping, Ava Veima, and Zeramping and Mahut are divided into 5 parsufim, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But what we're gonna see is that Bina divides itself into 2, into Garde Bina, which is the 3 upper ones and 7 lower ones. And the reason it does that is in order to get out from the head of Arin Camping and be able to somehow give the light of Chokmah to the lower ones. And now Yeshut becomes this conduit through which Bina is going to be doing that. And there's a request, a question, a prayer that is asked by, or is made by Zon, or Zeramping and Mahut down here. And it's raised all the way to Sada Bina, which is Yeshut. And Yeshut, who basically is a parsuf that needs a life of Chokmah. Before that, you know, the 3 upper ones, they don't need a life of Chokmah. But Yeshut does. It feels that lack because it's below the parts of Atzilut. It understands, basically, to make it, you know, more understandable, it understands the needs of the lower ones. It understands the needs of the son and the daughter. And as a mother who wants to give to their kids, who wants to feed them, it raises that request to the upper one. And the upper one, then, what we're gonna see is they're gonna respond with a prayer. But up there, there's no question, right? The question needs to be raised there by Yeshut. And Yeshut does that. And then what we're gonna see is that Ava Veima are considered to be back to back, meaning there's no connection between them. And because that question is asked, that prayer is raised, or that request is raised for the life of Chokmah, they see each other face to face, and that's when the life of Chokmah will be passed to Yeshut, and through Yeshut to the lower ones, Zeramping. And what we also need to understand when we read this is the following. Let me go back to the text. In the beginning, Harilasa said, "Lift up your eyes on high and behold who has created these things." Who, basically, me is Satabina, and EleH is basically Zeramping and Mahut. Okay, Zeramping and Mahut. So Yeshut basically is gonna be the one that is gonna create those who are below, or is gonna give the light to those below, to those forces below. Okay, and then it says, and you will know this. It is the concealed Atika, wherein lies the question. And who is the concealed Atika? You know, and what is why this is considered, you know, that it's concealed, right? It's concealed because it's not revealed. Here it's called revealed, right? But Yeshut is below the parsa, so it's basically considered, you know, that is hidden, okay? That is hidden. And then what we're gonna see is, analyze the question, who has created this, and who is he? Me, you know, the mem and the yod. He is called from the ends of the divine heaven on high, right? So what we see is that ends of the divine heaven is Seramping is the divine heaven, right? Seramping is heaven, and the ends of the divine heaven is basically this line over here, which is the tabur, right? And we have Yeshut. So Yeshut is me, okay? Yeshut is me. And then it says here high, that which is Bina, is Bina, but it's the seven lower of Bina. It's Zat, the Bina. Okay? Where everything belongs to him as everything is in his domain. And since one can ask about him, though he is concealed and not revealed, he is called who? Because beyond him, one may not pose such questions. So when we have, this is who, right? So we got me, and me basically is, there's a question here, right? But beyond the chased, there's no question. One cannot ask anything, but we can ask about this. But we can ask about what's going on over here. You know, when I say that, you know, I'm not saying we don't know anything about it. When I'm saying there's no question here, because there's no way for this to basically have the life of Chokmah, because it doesn't need it. In Navi, there's no need for those vessels to have the life of Chokmah. But they will receive it if it is for the sake of Creator, right? And that's where Yeshut, it's the main tool to do that, right? It's called who because beyond him one may not pose such question. Thus the end of heaven is called who. So the end of heaven is Yeshut, and that is called me. Men Yod. Let's see if I can put it here so we can have it as a change the color, so in the next lesson we can have it so this is me, okay? And the other one, which is EleH. EleH is basically the lower part, everything that is below Yeshut, okay? And keep this in mind as we learn later about item number 8. Item number 8 and item number 9 have a lot of information as well, but it's gonna be better because we already know this, what's going on here, what is Yeshut, and what is Ramping Malchut down here, and then what light we have inside Yeshut, which is Ruach HaNefesh, and where is that they are located, and who is it that Yeshut is going to give its light. And then after that, we will see as we study the Zohar why Serampia Malchut here is considered a Keter, a crown or a head, and then Bria, Yetzirah, and Asir are considered, you know, 9 lower Sefirot that are below the parts of Aviyah. Okay? And then how that is going to affect this world. So I hope you have enjoyed this lesson. I hope to see you once again on the next lesson, so we can cover item number 8, finish probably this section of who created this, and then go to the next section, which is who created this, but by Eliyahu. Okay, so have a great day or night, depending where you are, and I'll see you in the next lesson.